If you have ever felt like tasks are taking longer to complete than they used to and you're getting overwhelmed, you are not alone. Today we're going to talk about why this happens, what makes it different from just being lazy, because you're not lazy, you're healing. I'll share a different way of approaching tasks with a couple of downloadables to help you on your journey. My name is Larissa, and this is the Concussion Crew, an online community where we help each other make life with a concussion a little bit easier. This is not medical advice. Make sure that you connect with your family doctor if you have a concussion or think you have a concussion. I'm just sharing ways that I made life a little bit easier, which allowed me to do more things and accomplish more goals. Let's start with a simple explanation. When you have a brain injury, and a concussion is a type of brain injury, your brain takes longer to process information, which means that completing tasks can be difficult. Things that used to be really simple can be so hard. I like the analogy of a forest path, that from I want to make a cup of tea to all the steps that go, so filling the kettle with water, turning on the kettle, waiting for it to boil, putting a tea bag in the teacup, and pouring the hot water over top of it, and then letting it cool down until you can drink it. All of these steps are a path from the thought, I want a cup of tea, to the action of having that cup of tea. And generally that's an easy path. That's an easy, simple, quick path. It's like walking through a forest on a trodden pathway. But after a brain injury, because our noggin got shook around, because there might have been twisting or chemical changes in your brain doesn't have access to that path anymore. So it has to forge a new path. And for making that cup of tea, it might be slower. Choosing a mug might be difficult. Choosing which tea. Do I want something with caffeine? Do I want an herbal tea? Making sure that the kettle's filled. All these steps are difficult, and you might need to forge a new path, and sometimes that's an easy path and you're just tromping down grass to make a new smooth path. And for some tasks, you're going to have to chop down trees to make a new path, and it's going to be a lot more time intensive and difficult, but it is doable. You can do this. Our brains are incredibly complex organs. According to the Brain Injury Association of America, the cognitive fatigue that we feel, which is what is making us feel slow and laggy and like everything is difficult, that mental exhaustion is happening because your brain has to work so much harder to process information. I will include a link to the Brain Injury Association of America's website. I think it's got some great information in there. So on a good day, you might want to flip through and take a look. So if you're nerdy like me and you want to know a little more of the science, here are a couple of key points to understand. Injuries can damage the connection between neurons, which means that the brain has a hard time communicating with itself. Also, the brain is trying to reroute and to compensate for the damaged areas, and that requires more energy and more effort. Maintaining attention and focus requires even more effort, and that leads to quicker fatigue. So just trying to pay attention is zapping your brain of its energy, and processing speed slows down. The speed at which your brain processes the information of what's happening in front of it slows down. It took me a long time to realize that just because I was having a low pain day or I wasn't too dizzy one day did not mean that trying to accomplish tasks and thinking and communicating wasn't still going to take longer than it used to and wasn't going to drain me significantly more than it used to. Poor Larissa. It took a while for me to hear what my healthcare crew were saying, that this was normal, this was expected. Being slower and needing way more rest and recuperation time and needing more time to accomplish tasks is just part of healing from a brain injury. It's not being lazy and it's not working hard enough. It's just what happens when your brain is creating these new paths. You are definitely not alone. Many of us are experiencing this. Patience and self-compassion are key here, which is difficult. Something that helped me was to look at a task or a goal as a lot of little steps. When I started to realize how many steps it takes to complete a task, I started to take it a little easier on myself. And this is where we get to the downloadables. Our task management downloadable does two things, and these downloadables are absolutely free. You can go to the Concussion Crew website, there's a link below, and you can download them for free. And there are 2 different kinds with examples, and then 1 page that is just 2 of the blank task management tracking sheets. Our task management downloadable does 2 things. It helps you to understand why a goal is becoming so difficult, and then helps you to accomplish that goal. For example, when you're beating yourself up and thinking, why can't I just cook dinner? It's just dinner. I should be able to cook dinner. Sit down and write all of the steps that it takes to just cook dinner. One of the examples is making spaghetti for dinner. We've already done the first couple of steps that are on the downloadable, picking what we're going to cook. This takes time. This takes planning, deciding what do you feel like. If there are kids in the household, what will they eat? What won't I have to fight about? Do I want to have leftovers tomorrow? Are you going to a doctor's appointment and you want to have something that you can take along with you? So not spaghetti, something that is going to be easy to eat on the road. There are so many factors in choosing what to eat. Each one of these steps takes your brain more effort than it used to, because it's trying to remember how to do these things and forge a new path back to that information. What am I going to do next? How do I plan this out? So one of the things that this list will do, hopefully, is to tell you that there's a reason that this is hard, because it's not just make spaghetti. It's 15 steps to get spaghetti on the table, and 15 steps are a lot when your brain is injured. If your leg were broken, you wouldn't say, oh, why is it so hard to stand in the kitchen and stir at the stove? It's hard to stand in the kitchen because your leg's broken. Well, for us, it's hard to stand in the kitchen because our brain is injured. So cut yourself some slack. The other thing that this list can do is allow you to break things down into bite-sized pieces. For example, it's my parents' wedding anniversary in 2 weeks. So right now, I took the idea of getting them a framed portrait for their anniversary present, and I broke it down into steps. I need to find the photos that we took at their anniversary last year. I need to go through them, and then I need to pick one of those pictures. I need to send that picture to be printed. Once it's ready, I need to go to the photo center to pick up the print. I need to take that print to pick a frame. I'm going to need to put the picture in the frame. I need to go and get a bag and floofy paper and a card. Then I'm going to need to put the present in the bag, make it pretty, write a nice message in the card. So these are steps that can be broken down, and I can do them one at a time so that I'm not trying to get it all done at once or in one day. Obviously, that's more difficult with the spaghetti, but you could plan your meals for the week and you could get the ingredients ahead of time and not do grocery shopping on the same day as cooking. So hopefully this will help you to have a little compassion for yourself and to accomplish some bigger tasks by breaking them down into smaller tasks. The other downloadable that we've got is a permission slip. They are just fun little printables where you write your name in and say, today I am giving myself permission to, and then there's a little checklist. So whether it's do something that makes you happy or skip an obligation that you don't really have the brain capacity for and you don't really need to go to, take a me day, whatever that means to you. There's a section that says other, and you can write in there whatever you want. And you can say that I'm giving you permission. If you need permission from somebody, write one of those permission slips and know that Larissa gives you permission to take it easy on yourself today. And hopefully over time, you will get to a place where you give yourself permission, because that's all you need. You're the one in control of your brain injury and your healing. So you give yourself permission to stay home, to ignore a phone call from the annoying uncle that you know is just going to complain about the government. You don't have the brain capacity for that. If you don't want to talk about the government, that's okay. On a good day, I don't want to talk about politics, let alone when my brain hurts. So I give you permission, and I hope you give you permission to give your brain the space it needs to heal, because you deserve healing. Cognitive fatigue is real. There's a reason you are exhausted, and it's okay to take a break and do things that make life a little easier for you. Buy a pre-cooked chicken at the grocery store rather than making a meal at home. Wear track pants and a t-shirt if getting dressed and putting together a whole outfit is too difficult. You're just going to physio anyway. It's fine. I hope this was helpful. I hope it makes completing some tasks easier. And remember that there is a reason for your mental fatigue, and take it a little bit easy on yourself as your brain forms new neural pathways and things become a little easier every day. Things are going to get easier and easier over time. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you subscribe if this information was helpful. And if you have tips on how you deal with larger projects and make things a little bit easier on your brain, I hope that you'll share them in the comments below. Remember that healing is hard. You have permission to make it as easy as possible so that you can get as much better as possible. And remember that you are not alone in your concussion.